Okay, well, this building looks like it's still under construction, and it was under construction 2 years ago when I was here. Still a work in progress, looking back towards the main central station. Yeah, not sure what this is. It'll be interesting. All right, we're gonna hang a left here and head back into the neighborhood where I was staying before, mainly to take a look and see how that street that I was staying on, my apartment, see how that has come together after 2 years. As some of you might recall, that was a street that had been transformed into an improved Fietsstraat while I was there. So it's kind of cool to see that transformation take place. So we're gonna roll down that way, check it out. Kind of a good example and storyline of how, not too unlike what happens in other cities around the globe, when utilities are done or when streets need to be repaved, they take that opportunity to formalize it, make it better, enhance it, improve it. And so, as I understand, there were some sewer line projects that were being done on that street, and so they were working on that, taking that opportunity to redo and reimagine the street. And here it is. This is the street that I was staying on. And while I was here, they were working on all the sidewalk, the pavers here, and on this side as well. And yeah, very nice. My unit was right up there. That's where I was staying. And yeah, it's definitely, especially the greenery has definitely come back in, and it has turned into a really nice, comfortable Fietsstraat. Again, a bicycle priority street. And so all of these plantings were new in the fall of 2022 when I was here. And you can see the residents have done their own little plantings right next to the buildings. We do have a school that's right here. Again, another reason why a Fietsstraat, a slow street, shared street environment is so imperative here. Looks like they're doing some work on this little roundabout that's up here. This is sort of a little small footprint, low speed roundabout. Looks like we've got some additional work being done over here on this road. Maybe it's an oh yeah, and this road here too. It's completely dug up. So they're redoing this entire street. And it'll be interesting to see if this will be sort of in the same pattern. And you'll notice that we have a temporary cycle path that has been created here. Again, this is an area where there's a lot of middle schools and high schools. There's also a major sport field complex here as well, off in the distance over here. This is really cool. This is a neat transformation. You'll see an extended curb here, and I love the way that you can actually see how modular the curbs are. They're almost like little jigsaw puzzles. And they've really extended out the pedestrian realm here. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is also, I'm assuming it'll be a 30 kilometer per hour street, but the question is it going to be a formalized Fietsstraat kind of street? As formalized as Fietsstraats get, since they're not actually technically a legal street construct, but in practice they are. Very cool. All right, let's head on down the road here. Check this out. And we'll swing around here and see that, yes, that little cycle path that has been created is used as mobility device by people in mobility devices. Yeah, very cool. I think the spirit of what this street is and how the Fietsstraats work is really exemplified, and the importance of which is seen by just how many kids, students, young kids, as well as, middle school age kids, as well as high schoolers, are constantly streaming through these areas. And as you can tell, there are motor vehicles, there are cars that are parked here. I joked when I was here that it seemed like I never saw any of the residents actually get into their cars and drive anywhere, although they're definitely parked here. And yeah, and again, this street was under construction while I was here. And it's very nice to see the final version. And again, that's exactly what we expect to see. That city car was proceeding quite slowly, giving ample room to the person on the bike. All right, fantastic. That was fun. You might have noticed that parent with his hands on the shoulders of his son, kind of giving him a little extra push. Something you will frequently see here when parents are riding together with their children, and give them a little extra push when they need it, for whatever reason that might be. And it really exemplifies just how important it is to have safe infrastructure that's wide, so that you can have that side-by-side social interaction taking place. It's really essential. I really didn't want to hang out there while that big truck was rumbling right next to me. Okay, I want to actually bring us back here to the Delft Central Station. I think I'm going to roll towards the university first. And again, I'm not really sure what the story is on this building here, but they're taking their own sweet time getting it done. Yeah, let's roll towards the university. It's about 12:30 on a Tuesday. I don't think it's going to be super crowded in terms of people coming and going. But again, I just can't say it enough. You saw the person on the mobility trike there. He was clearly having some difficulty pedaling, but that gives him a sense of autonomy and a sense of mobility, because we have a truly safe and inviting environment for active mobility. And right behind him, you saw the mom with the two young children in her Bakfiets. Same thing, mobility, safe mobility options without having to get into a car and able to get all around the city. And we go down below water level here. It's always fun. Okay, we're passed by a pretty large number of middle school aged girls doing their thing, having a ball while they're doing it. Again, good to see. And again, this is one of my favorite little cycle paths that winds through the trees here, bringing us around to the edge of the TU Delft campus, which is right here to the right. And at its peak during rush hour traffic, this is one of the most impressive little intersections here. High number of people riding through. And you can see we've got entrances to the campus at multiple locations. And you see two-way cycle track all around the campus, again, delivering everybody to the university, whether you're working there or studying there or just visiting. I'm laughing because every time I visit this area, there is more road construction going on. You can see that this road right here is currently being worked on. And in the process of the construction, you see some temporary bike and pedestrian bridges being installed there. That's pretty much a standard. You've got university campus buildings on that side and on this side. And so you see that accommodation for people walking and biking. And we're rolling along here on a nice, comfortable, high quality cycle path. You see a little doop-de-doo there. That is actually to slow down the motorcycles, the motorbikes, the Snorfietsen, the fast-moving electric bikes. So that little doop-de-doo up and down waveform kind of slows them down a little bit. They don't need to be going that fast. But yeah, super high quality infrastructure here, and pretty wild to see the reconstructions that are going on. If you look back there, those are rails. I wonder if they're planning on bringing they must be planning on bringing maybe the tram into this environment, which would be super cool. Now that I think of it, I can't remember if the tram previously ran through here. Gonna have to look at the old footage. But again, you can see the TU Delft campus, the bike parking. Some of the bike parking is covered. There are also bike parking garages in this area. And as I mentioned earlier, this high quality Fietsstraat bike lane, cycle track, two-way cycle track, as well as the pavement, the sidewalk. And if you notice, there's a little gray textured stone in between the two. So that'll give me some vibration and let me know that if I wander, if I get over to that side, I'm getting onto the pedestrian realm. So, very nicely done. I really love having the color contrast, the differentiation there. I think that's a very wise thing to do. And we just keep rolling past the university campus here. I'll have to do some research to figure out what's going on with this street. It certainly seems to me like it is part of a installation of a tram here. And again, I can't recall whether that's what it was before, but you can see the rail right there. So it seems to me that that's what they're planning on here. Cool. We're gonna take this little side path up here to loop around the university as we roll past the tennis courts. Looks like they might have the red clay tennis courts. There you go, there's some more of the rails. It seems pretty obvious that that's what's going to be happening. And again, I can't recall if it was in the past. Yeah, I guess it was. There you go, there's the old streetcar line right there. So there were rail tracks there before. I just didn't remember it. Looks like they're completely redoing it. It'll be interesting to see how they construct that, whether there's any green features to it, whether it's running on grass or not. It's kind of cool to see it in this early construction phase. And looking forward to seeing what it's like in a year or so, maybe more. Okay, one of the reasons why I like this particular loop around on the path is this portion of the cycle path brings us up along one of the major highways. This is the A4, and you can see lots of motor vehicles, lots of cars, big trucks along this area. But we're gonna jump off of this and loop back down towards the university. And we'll be able to do that right up here, I believe. Yeah. Here we go. There's another good look at it. Pretty much looks like anywhere USA, as well as most other car-centric cities around the globe. This is not an ideal ramp for getting down to our cycle path, but it'll work. And here we are. There's our William Tell Delft. And now this Fietsstraat cycle path brings us along here. We've got industrial on the left, a little bit of housing on the right, but for the most part, the TU Delft campus is over here on the right, beyond these trees. You probably noticed those girls that just zoomed by. One of them had what's the Netherlands, the Dutch are calling fat bikes. Electric bikes with very, very fat tires and throttles so they're throttle controlled and they go fast. Those guys, maybe even professors heading into the TU Delft campus there. But yeah, those fat bikes, throttle controlled, very powerful, very fast. And as you saw, the one gal was giving the other, her friend, a free ride. Just hold on to my arm and I'll pull you along. Nice of her to do that, but there's an awful lot of concern over the speed and power of those bikes and the number of injuries that are starting to pop up with those people who are using them. I don't know if you noticed that that trike that just went by on the roadway. That was the mailman, the Netherlands postal carrier. I'm not sure what that is. Almost looks like a boat, a canoe, rolling that across the cycle path. And we see, speaking of canoes and boats, we see some boats right there. So the waterway must definitely creep in. Yep, there it is. So we have the water to our left, the edge of the TU Delft campus to our right, and up ahead of us you'll see some cars coming down from a ramp, a car ramp. Car ramp is what they call the parking garages. You see lots of bikes here, some of them abandoned clearly. And we are approaching that busy intersection that I mentioned earlier and looking down this way. Again, cycle paths going into the actual campus. And these are tour buses associated with the Royal Delft Museum, which is right over there. So you can go and check out the Royal Delft porcelain, which is world famous. And again, I want to just kind of point out here, we do have some of our bigger parking for our motor scooters, and also you see some of the cargo bikes parked in this location. And we'll swing back around to this intersection here. Again, I profiled this intersection several times before. It's really cool on a busy, busy day because the number of people on bikes coming into class, especially in the morning, is just super, super impressive. And what makes it so special is that the signal there for motor vehicles, for cars, is triggered by the cars, lets them know, basically puts them in the queue so that they can proceed. But if there's no cars around, it just continues to move the people on bikes through. And like I said, they just keep flowing through. Again, this is not a busy time. You also see sort of an equal number of pedestrians making through the way. And it's a pretty cool situation. You see that Mazda had been able to cue the green light, and they had to wait until it was clear for them to go, and they were able to go. But even just that moment of pause in the green light for people on bikes caused them to start to queue up. Not very much. Look at my other video and you'll see what I mean, because there ends up being hundreds of people on bikes queued up around the corner. But again, they prioritize keeping the bikes and keeping the pedestrians moving through the space and not the cars. I think it's just a brilliant little intersection. To me, it's very Zen-like, just sitting here, standing here watching this. Pretty cool stuff. Again, car flowing through this way. Very, very slowly. It's all shared space. Finally, this Mercedes gets a green. They can turn through. Same with the van. And then after that, it goes right back to prioritizing the movement of people on bikes. Simple, yet brilliant. So we won't go back the way we came in. We're gonna head into this neighborhood here. Kind of like doing that. It sort of emphasizes one of the core strengths of these Dutch cities is streets such as this that are paved in bricks, clinkers if you will, that send a message that this is a slow speed environment. And you see that cars are allowed to be here. They've got places to park. They flow through here occasionally, but they're not prioritized. It's a 30 kilometer per hour zone, and really the environment here is just about keeping things slow, keeping things comfortable for people walking and biking, people living in this space. Which is a good point. It's not about always mobility, always flow. It's also about lingering and staying and enjoying the environment. And when you have a situation like we have right now at middle of the day, it's 12:47 p.m. It's just super, super comfortable. Pretty much all you've seen so far is just people walking, people biking, maybe heading to a late lunch or heading back to work after an early lunch. So, again, this is just one of my favorite little side streets that I like to highlight. Nothing particularly earth-shattering about it or innovative, but it's just the simpleness of it is the brilliance. And you see that then brings us to the park-like feel right up along the canal. And then you see we've got our bridge to be able to get over the canal. And that'll deliver us into the historic core, the city center. And that's where we're going. And you can see the nice walking path right along the water. Another key activity asset to these communities is keeping things safe, inviting, and comfortable for all ages and abilities, and providing activity assets like walking paths along delightful areas like along the waterways. Oh, cool. Little shop there. Looks like a bike shop. Life Cycle. I wonder if they refurbish and recycle bikes. A nice little cafe right here on the water. Looks like they use this little ship as part of it. That's pretty cool. I'm just sort of taking a meandering path till we get into the old historic core of the city. And honestly, I don't really mind following an automobile or two through this space because you're noticing just how incredibly slow they're going, which is all cool. It's nice too, you just get the historic context of the city so well along these waterways. Absolutely beautiful. And this is delivering us to a busier section of the canal. We also see the major street right up here. And here's our major cycle path again, right along the canal. And you can see the windmill straight ahead in the distance. And just to the left, that is the central station where we started. So we're gonna make our way across this major intersection where you see these girls passing, and then drop down onto the path underneath this major roadway, and then head that direction towards the city center. Let's do it. And there it is. Pretty busy harbor activity at that location. Again, cool visual here. We're actually below the water. Climb back up to water level right there. And now we're back above water line. And of course, those guys were heading into the train station, into the bike parking, so that they can park their bike and head off to whatever their destination is. Okay, I'm gonna roll up onto this new little plaza area here. This is kind of a new greening that is part of this structure going in. I'm really starting to wonder whether this is going to have something to do with the Delft pottery. It has definitely that feel of that Delft look, but we will find out. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up here, and then we're going to go look at some public space installations that have recently been built and are underway, eliminating some car parking spots and turning some space over to people. All right, we'll see you in just a little bit.
And again, sending a huge thank you out to all my Active Towns ambassadors supporting the channel on Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, YouTube Super Thanks, as well as making contributions to the nonprofit and purchasing things from the Active Towns store. Every little bit adds up and it's much appreciated. Thank you all so much.